Okay. So Carter was going to be here, but Carter's not feeling the best. So he opted to stay at home, but he did not know. This was a completely covert operation, Carter. I think you didn't have a clue that this was going to happen. Hopefully. We've been working hard with Carrie has had to shut her computer at times when you walked in the room so that you couldn't read things. So this is a chance to honor Carter, and here's how we're going to do it. Carter, I just want to, is Carter there? Is he awake? Carter McNamara. Okay, sorry. Carter McNamara is a former, well, you'll see in a minute. He's a former, he is the godfather. Here we go. I'm just going to put it that way. Everything I do now in peer coaching is influenced by Carter. He's been an integral part, as Deb knows, from way back in the Minnesota ODN network. He helped develop the Consultants Development Institute, which I understand from Monica, right? Is still, you're still making that happen. And it's stuff that he and I guess Terry built to do that is still being used. So Carter has been around the world spreading many phases of action learning, and in particular focusing on peer coaching, the peer coaching piece. Carter doesn't get as much involved in the big areas problems. He's more interested in intimate peer coaching, not that he doesn't want to do it, but it's just that for his is. And he has given to the world oodles of free materials. If you whenever I ask Carter a question, within 10 minutes, there was a one-pager that came back. So the pager on the 10 uses of action of peer coaching. That's a Carter one-pager. He has thousands of one-pagers. You have a question? I've got an answer, at least the start of an answer. He created something called the Free Management Library. It was the original ChatGPT. You know, you ask a question and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's there, I see it. I didn't even look any farther than freemanagementlibrary.com. Every question I could think of was somehow in a box, in a folder in Carter's Free Management Library. And so we're here to honor him. I mean, is the proper term retired, Terry? I mean, he said he's retired.
Pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah,
and since Carter isn't here for the defend himself, I guess I can just take whatever liberties I want. Is that correct?
I think you can.
Okay, so
You have a
Carter,
chance.
forgive me, buddy. And it's no accident that there's two people. I mean, you know why. The one sitting in the back of the screen. An incredible part of it. But he's the guy that wrote all the books, and you know, he's the guy that has his name on all of them, you know, so you know.
We know about who's behind it.
We know, you know, those in the know. So I'm gonna here's the roadmap. I'm gonna try to have a little bit of fun, and I've sort of made up 3 personas that represent how I view Carter. Just to give an example of who he is. I'm going to talk about his values and his character. I'm going to talk about his achievements. I'm going to talk about his impact, and finally about his system. And so this will be a chance. But what I first want to do before I go through this is I want us to queue up a video presentation. Is that possible, Maestro? Mm-hmm. So we reached out to people to get written and video testimonials. So Terry, if you could hold up the book we've made Carter with it and present first. A book of the written testimonials and the video testimonials, which you will now hear for about 12 minutes, are some of the people from his life that Terry and others and Deb reached out to, and I did reached out to. And this is just a wonderful video that Anthony, does everybody know Anthony? Last name is
Anthony Landry is part of the community consulting program in MNOGN, and he was a student at St. Scholastica and Northern Zone, or in a full-time job now, and volunteered when he graduated.
Okay.
Very sweet.
I first met Carter when I was hired to help him create a marketing plan for the Leader Circles program back in 1998. We really hit it off, So much so that we decided to team up and incorporate Authenticity Consulting. After leaving the firm, I stayed in close contact with Carter and Terry and watched as they grew it to have a global impact with diverse clients, from the smallest nonprofits to the largest corporations. What has impressed me the most about Carter is his ability to assimilate a library's worth of management and leadership wisdom and make it practical and accessible for the beginner and expert alike. I remember him describing his peer coaching groups as the simplicity on the other side of complexity. Perhaps that might describe all his work. Through the Free Management Library, his series of books, and his consulting, Carter has helped literally thousands of people and organizations to do the right things well. You're an inspiration, my friend.
And had the good fortune to work with Carter in the early years when he was launching the Leaders Circles for nonprofit executives. Those circles were designed on action learning principles, were totally formed at the behest of nonprofit leaders themselves. Carter took great pains to make sure that the program he was designing was what, in fact, nonprofit executives were calling for. It was a pleasure to work with Carter. I wouldn't say I was his boss, I would say I was his collaborator, because if you've spent time working with Carter, I don't think anybody bosses him. I think people have the opportunity to work side by side with him and see what an incredible collaborator he is, and how he always brings to his work a curiosity and a desire to make good things happen for the people who benefit from the programs he designs.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to work around the country and around the world with Authenticity Consultants. Carter, over the years, I've come to think of you as a blend of the therapeutic and the practical. The peer learning methodology is a structured process which is elegant and powerful. It's based on design assumptions grounded in your work about how to facilitate growth and human development. The values of non-intrusive questioning and mutual support show a tremendous respect for the integrity of the person doing the work and the development of a peer structure and a set of working relationships to foster constructive and committed change. It's one thing to design a tool, but it's a whole nother thing to develop an organizational strategy to leverage the bench strength of organizations as diverse as Minnesota county governments and global businesses such as Microsoft and British Petroleum, just to name a couple. I believe that leadership is the most studied and least understood variable in organizational behavior. But I also know that you've established your leadership through sheer competence to impact simultaneously the individual, the group, and the organizational levels of effectiveness, which is the holy grail of intervention theory and method. Carter, you deserve as much kudos as you can get. Congratulations, buddy. Take care.
Well, I first met Carter when I was working for Search Institute, another small research-based organization committed to changing the world. Carter's Circles model was something that was introduced to me as a way to scale and help people learn and build skills across communities. We were creating healthy communities for healthy youth all across North America, and then it went around the globe. He was very skillful in teaching the model and sharing the model. And then it was research-based, which was really important to us at Search Institute as an applied research organization. I think I met Carter in 2004 or 2005 and fell in love with the work and fell in love with Carter and Terry at that time. And they've been part of my professional and personal journey for the last decade and a half. And I've used the model in all the work that I've done supporting network leaders around the world, as well as joining them and working in some fun corporate settings, both in the US, in the UK, in Europe, and in Australia. If there was one word that I would describe Carter besides highly skillful and taking research and synthesizing it into something simple and adaptable, it's generous. Carter, you've given so much to me, so much to the field, and so much to the world to make this place a better planet. I am eternally grateful and wishing you well.
I want to thank Carter for the huge impact he's had on my life and on the network that I lead. In 2017, I was working at Hennepin County and I was in a peer coaching circle. It had a big impact on my life. And so when I asked to share it with the Leaning Together community, Carter and Terry were really generous in giving us the materials. So we've been able to disseminate it from 2017 until the present moment. We've done 9 trainings of leaders. It's having a big impact around the globe. People have much stronger networks. I'm a better leader of leaders. The infusion of that generosity, collaboration, warmth, sincerity, and helping people be their authentic selves is a huge impact of the peer coaching tool that we've been gifted with. So thank you very much, Carter, for the impact you've had on me and the community that I lead.
I got to know Carter in the 1990s when we were both members of the Minnesota ODNet board. And as a fellow board member, it did not take me long to figure out that Carter was one of the most highly educated, strategic thinking, experienced consultants in our profession. Carter was and still is a tremendous resource. Organizations I worked with over the years often had one or more of Carter's nonprofit field guides on their shelves. Many regularly consulted his management library, which he generously and freely made available to anyone. This past year, I experienced Carter's deep commitment to authenticity in a very different way. I had the honor and privilege of reading Carter's book, Wolf, a memoir of love and atonement. Carter's gifts, talents, intellectual contributions are all part of a larger, challenging personal journey, beautifully and powerfully articulated. In short, he is amazing. Nobody could be more deserving than Carter of this important and timely recognition. You go, Carter. Thank you.
In the year 2000, I was introduced to Carter and his application of action learning in peer coaching circles. Shortly thereafter, I collaborated with him to add peer coaching to the county's leadership and management development programs. It quickly became the most popular component of those year-long learning experiences. At the same time, I was trained by Carter to be a facilitator for the circles, and I soon adopted peer coaching for the programs we offered to all levels of county employees. Carter was extremely helpful as a facilitator, and he was always generous in sharing additional resources and guidance to improve our experience. What an incredible legacy his work is, along with his authentic presence to the employees and citizens of Hennepin County. Congratulations, Carter, for this well-deserved tribute.
I met Carter in 2006 through my friend and colleague, Karen Rhodes. Karen and I were working together to develop high potential leadership development for Microsoft, and we're looking for a cost-effective way to bring coaching to as many of our high potential leaders as possible. In her research, Karen came across Carter and Terry McNamara at Authenticity Consulting, and that in turn became a friendship and very productive business relationship. Carter, I'm so delighted to be a part of your celebration. I want to highlight that it's not just the contributions that you've made to our field in organization development through your action learning methodology. More importantly, I think you have been a model for so many people with your generosity of spirit. You've created something like the free management library, coordinating that to bring resources to so many of our colleagues and managers. You've been a personal role model and example for me in how to conduct business and build relationships with others. You're a true mentor. I so appreciate you. And I want you to know that you are so deserving of this celebration and honor. Congratulations. I'm so grateful I got to be a part of it.
I first became aware of him when I was an executive director at United Way, and I referred to many pages of his free management library, which is just a gold mine. And I happily shared it with many small and large nonprofit organizations. Later, when I was with the university, I was delighted when Carter agreed to serve as one of our instructors for the nonprofit program. He also helped us with the design and implementation of the Northwoods Nonprofits program, which utilized learning circles over 6 sessions after workshops. Carter's seminars were always top rated. We got great evaluations. He was always generous with his time. Not many people can say that they helped a small nonprofit one day and the next flew off to do leadership training for Microsoft Corporation or another large corporation, but Carter can. I recently learned of another aspect of Carter in his latest book, Wolf, a memoir of love and atonement. If you haven't read it yet, I really highly recommend it. It's a page turner. he writes of a childhood filled with stories of neglect, abuse, and abandonment, and how they impacted his life as an adult. As a former child protection social worker, it still pains me to think about it, but it also gives me hope that some people, hopefully many, who have experienced a childhood like this could actually rise up and achieve what Carter has. I want to congratulate you on your many accomplishments, which I've only been named to a few, and also to send a big thank you for you, for your help and your guidance over the years. You are truly, truly one of a kind. My wish for you is that you and Terry grab a Chase Lounge under a palm tree at a sunny southern beach resort and savor your victories. You've helped so many, and now help yourself to some sunshine and some fun. Once again, congrats, Carter. Terry, will you please give Carter a congratulatory hug for me? Thanks.
I had the privilege of working with Carter McNamara when I served as the director of the Senior Leader Program for Goodwill Industries International. It was a 6-month program designed to serve our upper-level managers at local Goodwills. It was during the development of the program that I was looking for something that would provide a foundation for both individual and group learning. And it was when I discovered Carter's work on authenticity circles and peer coaching. And I felt very strongly that this is exactly what the program needed to ensure that learning would occur, not only throughout the program, but when the individuals returned to their own Goodwills. So it took merely a phone call to Carter, some discussion about what I was looking for, and to my surprise, when I asked if he knew anyone that would be available to create the structure and actually supervise and run those learning circles, he said, I believe I could do that. So it was from then on that Carter and I worked together over the next 9 years, using the learning circles to enhance the learning of our senior leaders that impacted our entire organization. Thank you, Carter, both professionally and personally. I so enjoyed our work together.
It's our pleasure to be with you today to celebrate Carter and all the contributions he's had with the field of organizational development. I'm fortunate to have worked with Carter for the last 6 years, designing, implementing, and facilitating a peer coaching program at Dakota County. The resources and the training and the guidance and facilitation he has provided us made the process really just go so smoothly and have been so instrumental in the program's ongoing success. Many of our groups continue to meet on their own, which is a lot for the value of the program. I have to admit, when I first participated in the peer coaching workshop 7 years ago, I was a little intimidated, given all of Carter's knowledge and experience with coaching. But the more I have worked with him, the more I realize how fortunate I was. He's been so supportive with his calm, caring, and gentle demeanor. Not only to me, but our team and the leaders here at Dakota County. We all have grown because of him. So thank you, Carter, for being an inspiration and a mentor to me. And congratulations on your retirement. Stephanie has a few words now here to share with you.
Carter has built a legacy on coaching and freely shares his knowledge and wisdom. His training and resources have been the foundation of our program, and we use it to continue to grow. Personally, I was struck by Carter's patience, kindness, and genuine care for others. He would always check in and ask us how we're doing, and he really meant it, and he wanted to know. He's a delightful person, and I wish him all the happiness in the future. And he's given so much to others. Now it's our turn to give a lot of love back to Carter. Carter, keep making those changes, and thanks for all the impact you had on so many people, one coaching conversation at a time. Best wishes to you.
And Steph, do you like to come up and kind of sort of look past, member of the board of this, just kind of, you've been there since the beginning. You're part of the
Since before. You know, as we talked about this night, it was like, what's it gonna be like? And Terry was up front with us. It was a 50-50 chance. Maybe Carter will be here, maybe he would. He told us that from the get-go. We knew that, so we have the visuals ready to go. I started thinking, where did I be Carter? Well, it was before ODN. way back in ASTV day, we used to have special interest groups. And one of those special interest groups was OD. That's why I got interested in OD. It's like, I found my peeps. Well, there was also a newsletter that came out. Somehow they got my name, Carter, and they asked me to write a couple articles. I didn't know how hard it was to write an article, how much time it took, right? I get it done and I go, thank God, I think I'm done. And then I started looking more at this newsletter. Every issue, there's an article by this guy named Carter McNamara. I go, who is this guy? He's got to get a job. I mean, really? How can he do this? You know, he just had this natural gift of bringing me into the articles to read them and look forward to the next newsletter. And that's how I got to know Carter McNamara, was through the newsletter. From those early articles, everything that he's done, his ongoing support, he's so impressive, excuse me. Carter, you shared and cared generously throughout the years. From being on the board of MNODM to being on many committees, one-to-one, coaching with people, teams. Carter, you were there for me to forge a partnership to bring collaborative consulting to anyone that wanted to take it within MNODM and our affiliate partners that we have with Ken and ICF and MPOP. You also said yes to all the times we asked you to present. You were there. And I would thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me bring a dream of mine into reality with the collaborative consulting program. I kind of said, Carter, can you help? Can you help? And he goes, yes, this would be great for everyone. And he was right there with us, and it has been. I just am amazed at the depth of his caring about others and helping others grow. Oh, you're up there.
We got him. We got him.
Oh, and how you graciously continue to give to others. Your interactions, your website, all the resources everybody referred to. You really left a personal imprint on each of us here. Not only do you talk OD, you walk OD. So thank you for being the person that possesses a depth of values that includes not just that caring and sharing, but you know yourself so well that you yourself are an instrument of change when you're with the group. And that's, I think, the difference that you've made in each of us and the leadership of the future in OD. So I cherish the collaborative adventures that we've had together. I look forward to more. Thank you for being a role model for me and a guiding light to inspire all of us. I did want to make sure that I could give you something, a little something back. So I've been hanging on to this book for many years, probably about 5 years since I sat next to Ed Shine when he was doing a presentation in Chicago. And he was great. He signed a couple books for me. And I thought, I need a special event to give this one book out at. And Carter, you're getting a book that says Best from Ed Shine. And it's all humble consulting. I'll send it home with Terry. And with that, congratulations. We love you.
Yeah.
God, I
So
was
it is-
crying in front of people and then crying in front of the whole town of Minneapolis. Jesus Christ. God damn it, Chuck. Did you do this?
The village.
Yeah, take the village. Ah, God, I don't know what to say. I can't talk. God,
We'll give you a couple of minutes to think. We just have one more piece of this.
oh, God.
One more small piece. This is my chance to sort of, get back at you, Carter, for all the pain it caused me to learn. So it's a little the slides, which are it's tribute to Carter slides.
Terry, did you know about this? He's not even talking to me anymore. Oh God, there's more.
Okay, let's go to the first slide, personas.
Thank you to all of you from the depths of my soul. I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this.
So I was trying to think, how do I sort of encapsulate Carter in a couple of personas? And this is what I came up with. And this is Chuck's view, but three things sort of stood out to me: the explorer, the pioneer, the snake, Yoda, the gift giver, Johnny Appleseed. And so let's talk about each one of them. So Carter was working in a computer company, and he went to HR one day and he said, the training that we have, I think he used probably some pretty graphic words, but doesn't work well, Madam HR Director. And really, we need to do a better job. And she said, well, we've invested a lot of money, and bottom line, she said, hey, if you think you could do better, go out and do it. Carter grabbed the mantle and developed something very akin to getting groups together and learning together. And he was that pioneer. Like, I am not going to let an impediment, an uncooperative person who should be teaching us, get away with it. And he took the bull by the horns and he led the way. The company started using much better way training that these engineers that he worked with really love. The second persona is the sage. So Yoda, I mean, it looks a lot like Carter, I know, but I mean, really, Carter, I can't tell you how many times I wrote Carter and said, Carter, can I talk to you? And he ignored me, and he doesn't remember that. Finally, somehow, he said, I'll talk to you, Chuck. And I finally had a conversation, and the rest was history. And he has been my Yoda, no kidding, for however many, 20 years that we've known each other. And whenever I had a question, Carter had the answer, or he had a one-pager he could send you within, not a nanosecond like ChatGPT, but 10 minutes or plus or minus. So he really was that sort of person that, and he writes in his book, The Wolf, he writes about the old soul. And I think that notion of the old soul is deep inside all of us. That really wise inner person is what Carter really has and is able to bring out. And the third is Johnny Appleseed, the gift giver.
That looks like Carter.
That looks like Carter. That's Carter. I mean,
look like me. It does. Oh God.
I mean, you've heard stories. I mean, this guy's gone around the world spreading peer coaching apple seeds all over the world and letting them grow. You've heard stories of people saying, I got his manuals, I got his training, I got his guidance. And they're blooming and they're blossoming. And so there's apple trees all over the world now that came from Carter. And it's not, and it's a humble guy. He's not somebody that gets up and does podcasts, on TED Talks or anything like that, saying what I've done. It's just been out there every day doing it in an incredibly humble and kind and caring way.
Thank you.
Well, let's go and talk about his values and character. And I realized I did leave one off. Let's put him up. And this is his family.
Oh God.
Isn't that a great picture? Yeah. Daughter Darian, son Ian. But those words up there, authenticity. And what I realized in reading his memoirs was that Carter has been in search of authenticity since the day he was born. And how interesting that he named his company Authenticity Consulting. And how interesting that he would always talk about how it's so important that you're true to yourself and that the world knows who you are. And you are what you get what you see. And Carter discloses all in this book that he wasn't fully formed and authentic, and probably still isn't, like most of us, fully formed. But he's still in search of that authenticity, and that's what this book is all about, is how he how he came to that. The guy was as vulnerable as you can be. He had no problem sharing the stuff that he did. He wasn't sage on stage. I'm perfect and you're the human. He was always willing to say, I don't have a clue. I don't know how to do that. Always humble, as people have said. Never sort of made you feel like you're stupid. Like every question was a great question. And every question probably got a one-pager that would follow up within about 10 minutes. Resilience. He's been kicked up and down all his life, growing up. He's had struggles all throughout his life that you read about in this book that he had no idea. And that he picked himself up time and time again and kept going, even though he had self-doubt, even though he had lots of things, lots of demons, as he calls them in the book, in his head. He kept going. And of course, I don't need to use that last word. I think that probably, if we did a wordle of all of the text, I think that word generosity would probably be pretty bright and bold in that. And the characteristic that I have forgotten is stubborn. I realize I've forgotten that because I can't tell you how many times sitting around a dining room table at our house in Virginia or at Terry and Carter's house where he and I would get in an argument and over silly little things, usually like, what should we call this? And he didn't give up. So he held his ground. He was always done it. He knows what he believes and he knows when to sort of say, this is the way it is. This is the way I know it. Let's go on to the next piece of the puzzle, his achievements. So next slide. So you can't really, but I mean, he's a PhD. His dissertation was on action learning. Okay, so how about that for some credibility? How many people that are experts in action learning would say they were? Not even Mike Marquardt, not even so many of the people that I know that Carter's in the same pantheon. When that woman said he does research, he does research. I mean, what you get comes from a lot of research. And Carter would quote constantly as they took data, like he would quote, Chuck, I know from my experience and having studied this, that if you give everybody a piece of the pie at every peer learning group, that they are far more likely to come back the next time. And I was sold. It's like, if that's what it's all about, getting them to come back. And even beyond that, getting to stay together long after the program is over. He's the founder of Authenticity Consulting, of Action Learning Source, E&I, and Consultant Development Institute that's been mentioned several times. He is the creator of the Pre-Management Library, which has since been taken over by a company that's going to keep it alive for perpetuity, but it'll still be available. Terry, is it still free? Is it still
it's
free?
still free. That was part of the terms of the transfer, and so all of the content that Carter put up there is still free, and they're adding more content.
Yeah. And we all know that he's the developer of this peer circles, but one of the things that we probably don't know is that during COVID, he put out a broadcast to the world that if you are struggling in COVID and you need support, come and we'll get you involved in a peer learning situation to help you get through this stuff. Perfect. You're extraordinary. His memoir, which we'll talk about and the awards, many. He's got book awards. He's got, I guess, he's got the OD Practitioner of the Year from MNOD, Business Excellence Award from St. Thomas, from the University of St. Thomas. But the memoir is really, I think, a very special thing. And I'm going to end tonight with reading pretty much the last paragraph from this book. Let's go on to this global impact. Next slide. Peer coaching model, it's the world. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people use it. He's empowered peer coaches by training them, by supporting them with manuals and one-pagers writ large, more than you could ever imagine. If you were in one of his programs, you usually got about 4 inches worth of manuals, right? That period, 3 manuals how to run a peer review. So if you were really a very detailed person, you had every question probably that you could ever imagine was probably answered. And if it wasn't, you get a one pager back the next day if you asked it. He's built up that advantage. He struggled with stuff to be able to made that part of his who he is, and part of his my life, creating solve problems and something in my life, especially to find himself. And he's worked largely with nonprofits around the country, especially around this area, helping to develop awareness. He's written a book about nonprofit strategic planning, and people in nonprofits remember Carter because he helped them develop and it's key coaching and forms. So incredible impact. But the world, doesn't know near enough about Carter because he's not putting himself out there like so many people do. He's somebody that's the gentle, kind, and humble servant of the world. Next slide. His gifts of wisdom, there are too many, but these are a few of mine. Chuck, don't let those leadership development people tell you they want to do this, and this goal. You got to go and get them to tell you what is the one outcome they want to achieve. Of course, everybody, I want them to do better this, I want them to develop that. And he says, never speak of failure unless you can get them to say what's the one thing they want to get out of it. Repeatedly telling us there's many ways to do this, there's no one right way. And yet we're filled with a world of my way is the right way. And I'm afraid that's largely from academics who say, I spent my life doing this, so this is how it shall be. Carter's never been that way. It's like there are other ways to do this. One of the things I remember is he said, when you have a sense in a group, if you smell it, see it, hear it, intuit it, put it out on the table. Don't hide what you're seeing from the group. Let them know. Look back to them what you're sensing. And chances are you will open. Time is an opportunity, not an extreme. When he told me I could do a peer coaching group in 20 minutes, I laughed. A year earlier, I had a Booz Allen partner say, Chuck, unless you can do this in 10 minutes before between walking from building A to building C, talking with one of my, that's all I got, 10 minutes coaching. And I just laughed because I was a snob or an idiot, And then Carter comes along and says, you can do it. And you did it. At 15 minutes, you just asked him questions and you got something out of that, like just asking some questions. And if you don't have it, invent it. It's like, and that's what action learning groups are. We invent knowledge, we create knowledge, we create stuff that works for us. And of course, being vulnerable. There is no more vulnerable book I think I've ever read than this one about what I've lived through in my life. The power of peer coaching is in large measure a product of a man named Carter McNamara. Not his consultant. He's really brought that to the fore. We all should have gratitude. Finally, with profound gratitude, Carter, I just want to read everybody. This is the close of his memoirs. It's 3 sentences. If I was pressed to proclaim a moral of any story, then it would be this. If someone does not talk about some important aspect of their life, then don't be wary of them. Tell them if they have a story that you will listen. Say that. Then be quiet and just listen. Wait. If we all listen to each other more, what a better world we have. Carter, thank you. Now I'll give you a chance. You don't have to say anything, but if there's something that you want to just leave us with, feel free. If you just want to say goodbye, adios, I'm going to lay down on the floor and do my thing. Whatever you want.
Oh God, what do you say after something like that? And Josh, I feel so much gratitude. feel like I've been shot out of a cannon. God, you thank you. And, boy, what a gift. I wish I could say something that would just resonate and you'd all say, oh, this should be written down. It's my heart is just feelings, and this is all feelings. God, thank you. Hey.
Yeah. So let's all stand up and really give a great job. To the community, we gave.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Jeff, you're in so much trouble. You were very good. Thank you.
I'm gonna come and give you a hug in a few minutes, if you'll let me.
Hi, Carter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh.
You bet. Love you, Carter. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carter. What an honor honoring you. Thank you everyone for coming. Wow, great event. We're really happy that we can so many thoughts and feelings. Wow, I'm overwhelmed too. We appreciate you all for joining us. As I said, stay on the lookout for announcements, things to come. And yeah, enjoy a fantastic summer weekend, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you.